Sounds like there's people in the room. Sounds like there's people in the room. 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Greenkill Gallery Sessions presents Calling All Poets. Now in our second year doing this, live streaming through the epidemic, through the inflation, through the madness, through the right-wing insanity. CAPS continues to do it all, and we couldn't do it every second Thursday without our featured readers and without David Schell here, who runs the Greenkill Gallery. Thank you. Give him a round of applause. David's put together a really great place for artists of all kind to come and do your work, come and do your art, come and create is all Dave is asking you to do. And he's here at 229 Greenkill Avenue. So this is the gallery. This is Calling All Poets. My name is Mike Jakovic. I will be your host for the evening. And we were going to have 4 featured readers tonight, but one of Tom's daughters is sick, and he can't make it. So there will be 3 featured readers. You will not be disappointed because they're all great. And Irene Sipios, Perry Nicholas, and Roberta Gould, who might be a very familiar name in this area, who is a very familiar name in this area. So let's get started with our first featured reader. Irene Simon Sipios earned her master's in the legendary 1970s English department of SUNY University at Buffalo. How about a hand just for that, huh? She retired from SUNY Buffalo State, where she taught English and writing. Irene was a co-founder of the Buffalo State Rooftop Poetry Club and is currently a coordinator of the Buffalo Corner Poetry Series. Her work has appeared in numerous national and local magazines and anthologies, including Lilith Magazine, the Comstock Review, and Earth's Daughters. Her chapette poem and other poems is number 12 in the Buffalo Okra Papers. She has a collection of poems, Stones. Before I bring Irene up, I just want to mention one thing. We're trying something new tonight. We're giving you this otherworldly look at Calling All Poets and the features. So enjoy it, everybody out there. Enjoy it here in the gallery. Irene Sipios, come on up.
Yes? Yeah? This is so interesting and a little scary. Thank you so much for inviting us from Buffalo, New York. It's a pleasure to be here in this beautiful part of New York State and to meet everyone here. Is it too echoey? Should I do anything? No? Okay. Well, I thought, because it's summer, because it's July, because I love summer, that I would read a bunch of summer poems. So the first one, we used to go to a Canadian island called Stony Island, and there was an artist who we were visiting, and when we were leaving, he asked if we might bring a piece of art that he had made back to Buffalo with us because he didn't want it in the damp house in which he and his father lived. He wanted it brought back to Buffalo. The enormous artwork we bring home from a Canadian island on a motorboat. I don't want to leave it here on this island anymore, the artist says to us. Do you think you could take it with you when you leave? How did we fit it in the boat, along with so many backpacks and duffel bags, necessities for us and 2 kids? I only remember speeding to shore, bumping, rising, dipping, cutting through waves. Our old brown and white station wagon was waiting on McCracken's Island, where we transferred the 46 by 59-inch glass-framed collage to a van, bound to our house for temporary safekeeping, away from the chilly damp of a northern summer cottage. The piece tells a raucous story, created, it seems, by boys, fractions, cartoons, playing cards, airplanes, signatures, ads, report cards, stars, erasures, thick black rings. Decades later, this work claims a large space over the piano as its own. We look at it often, every day, and remember the artist's words as he inspected it after the lake crossing that August morning. Promise you will never remove the bird poop, and so we have not. Thank you. There was plenty of bird poop on the rain. It was quite silly that he thought it would be damp in the cottage, and here we were carrying it in a boat over water, getting splashed and bird pooped on. Summer poem called Corn. When the shopper next to me rips husks off corn she is choosing, I'm embarrassed. It seems outrageous, as tearing the shirt off an innocent woman. I hope I don't offend you if this is also your practice. If you worry some kernels may disappoint, why not buy an extra ear or two? Corn is plentiful. She deserves her dignity. Corn offers bicolor kernels, golden silk, sturdy cobs, complete with helpful handles to hold and butter. Synonymous with summer, high in fields, long anticipated in winter, let us greet corn, not as inspector generals, but as courteous friends. So thank you, you needn't. So from Buffalo, as here, the end of March can be pretty dreary. We're tired of winter, but spring is coming. Last day in March, poem with a moral. It was cold, the sky was gray, wind was sharp, but I had been inside most of the day, so I set out on a walk. Notice 3 things I had recently read when you take a walk. I tried. Some mud, some ice, some chill. Why am I bothering? This being present in the moment isn't working. Until a small, white, low to the ground, pointy ears, wagging-tailed doggy, who might as well have been smiling, approached. This is Sammy, his owner said. A West Highlander? I asked. Yes, I have had dogs all my life, but this guy is my special buddy. Oh, Sammy, I said, a pleasure to meet you. The day was brightening. Thank you, thank you. So in Buffalo, New York, we are just across the Niagara River from Canada. The Peace Bridge connects us. And it used to be that it was a very simple thing to cross the Peace Bridge, but it is no longer, especially now because of the pandemic, but after 9/11, it's a whole other thing. Taking a chance. We rode our bicycles over the Peace Bridge between Buffalo and Canada, an international crossing. Our destination, Niagara Falls, a 40-mile round trip. I carried nothing official. The customs officer asked, no money, no ID? He let us cross. How easy it was back then, before post-terrorist sanctions, before global pandemic. Of course, I knew it was silly to be so unprepared. Did we have a tire pump in case of a flat? Helmets in case of a fall? How free it felt to pedal over the rushing river with just my favorite bicycle partner and 1 tube of lilac lipstick. Thank you. Thank you. And yet another summer poem. Rebels. My mother didn't like summer. The rest of us lived for it. This caused a little stress in the kitchen in summer months. She would be pancake flipping at the stove weekend mornings, declaring misery even before 10 a.m. My father, brother, and I would be rejoicing that winter's dark mask had finally lifting. The syrup was Aunt Jemima, label and contents, both anathema to me. Still, I endeavored to be patient with my mother's anxious voice and short temper. Be home by 6 for dinner, she would instruct. By 1 or 2, after various tasks, we summer lovers needed to jump in Canada's cool waters. We needed the sun to lick us head to toe, sunscreen protected or not. We wanted to cross the exciting bridge named Peace, rolling down hand-cranked windows to declare our citizenship and pay the 25-cent toll. We wanted to bury our feet in burning sand, to converse with minnows in shallow water, to float alongside sunfish that would tickle our skin, to swim until people back on the shore appeared tiny and unidentifiable. We would return home, sandy and scorched, delayed because of Sunday afternoon traffic, almost but not quite satisfied, definitely nervous and guilty for being late. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're very kind. August rain on friend's back porch. I call this screened-in space my favorite Parisian cafe. Although it is pouring, we are protected and dry. We inhale earthy wetness, savor bites of homegrown tomatoes, and grill blackened fish. Dave starts an anecdote from 40 years ago, detailing a mishap that was our fault, and I groan inwardly, oh no, not that crazy story again. Yet we four circling this table on this rain-soaked summer evening, what can I say to myself but lucky, lucky, lucky. Thank you. This poem is called Woodlawn. Shall I explain Woodlawn? A little town where David grew up, the site of a huge Bethlehem Steel Company, and he would tell me stories about Woodlawn often. They lived just right at the beach, but it was nothing fancy. Woodlawn, a small boy, a small house, a small town on a big Erie lake with a big Bethlehem Steel. Barefoot in the garden, tearing tomatoes from Grandma's Hungarian vines, you could smell, even if the patched eye under gauze and glasses couldn't see. Juicy seeds dribbling, you pull the radio flyer to the beach, orange, rusty water bruising your toes. That's what the water looked like because of Bethlehem Steel's emissions. Another one. This is sort of a childhood poem and sort of a summer poem. How am I doing? Okay. Our phone number was summer 0808 when I was a child. Summer 0808. Could the phone number of my childhood be sweeter? A pair of even numbers that match my birth date. A prefix that signals long days of sunshine, no school. The phone itself significant, weighty, black, sitting on its own table, ready to connect to phones in other houses, prefixed Riverside, Delaware, Lincoln, Victoria, all representing neighborhood, a small place with kids squeezed between friends and cousins on porch steps, 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. You must remember phone numbers that had prefixes that evoked a sense of place, sitting on porch steps playing games. I'm going to skip this. So in Buffalo, we have beautiful Delaware Park designed by Frederick Law Olmsted. And there's a section called the Rose Garden, you know, a beautiful selection of various kinds of roses, and then a kind of portico where weddings often took place. They still do. In the Rose Garden with Rosemary Redwing. We were 7 or so when we'd meet at the edge of the Rose Garden in Delaware Park on June mornings or afternoons. My father waited at a distance while we, feeling wonderfully alone, sat cross-legged on the pebbled ground. Focused on the trellis at the end of the path, we watched bride and groom pose for pictures, her gown shimmering white, bridesmaids peach or pink. Once the wedding party walked near as they departed, apricot-scented roses, chiffon, lace, perfume enthralling us, young students of anthropology observing ceremonial tradition. These are stuck together. 1, 2? Dave? 2. We'll do 2. These are childhood poems, double-digit strong. My brother's bedroom had doors to the back porch. He could hear the row of poplars whistling all night, a chorus singing him to sleep, sentinels of security delineating neighboring backyards from ours, double doors, symbols of freedom triggered my envy. He might unlock them, step out to survey the night sky. But sometimes on windy nights I'd warn him of ambiguous beasts or kidnappers lurking in emerald branches, plotting to break in, scoop us from our beds, tape our mouths so we could not call to sleeping parents. Don't worry, he would assure me. I am 10, double-digit strong. Do you see the baseball bat I keep next to my bed? There it was, almost shining in the dark, his Louisville slugger, propped upright, sworn by Henry to protect our childhood and vanquish demons at the door. Thank you. That's kind of summertime too, the backyard, the porch, going outside at night. Okay, this will be last, and it's for you, Perry. Losing my marbles. I think I'm losing my marbles, a friend says when he feels down. Aquamarine, alabaster, chartreuse, vermilion, cat's eyes scattered everywhere, glossy bits of beauty, spilled but not gone, I tell him. Come on, we'll crawl around to find them, like you did 60 years ago when they rolled down the West Side sidewalk. You chased them under Mr. Mahoney's green Studebaker, happily scooping them up one by one. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're so kind.
Does anybody understand how nice that live applause sounds? I mean, think about it for a moment. Try it again. Just give some applause, that's all. Listen to how good that sounds. I mean, seriously, after what, 2 years of this locked-in bullshit? I mean, give yourselves a hand. Just clap. Just be surprising, man. It's like, woo! We have another Buffalo superstar coming up next. Perry S. Nicholas is recently retired English professor at SUNY at Erie in Buffalo, New York, where he was awarded the SUNY Chancellor's Award and the President's Outstanding Teachers Award. He has published 1 textbook of poetry prompts, 3 full-length and 6 chapbooks of original poetry, along with 2 CDs of poetry. During his recent retirement, he has been interviewed for both Stockbridge, Massachusetts Library and the Hellenic American Project for Queens College, New York City. Perry Nicholas, everybody, come on up.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Hard to follow Irene. She's too good. Odd jobs. Love comes and goes in pieces. You can't sit back and watch it unfold like a movie in its entirety, beginning to end. Youth pushes the broom and age dodges his sweep. I had a few odd jobs in my day and learned to section them into smaller tasks. Dairy Queen, dilly bars first, Buster second. Buffalo Zoo, 25 cents for 3 sardines to feed the seals. Years ago in Delaware Park, there was a cop whose job it was to patrol the grounds, catch young lovers making out in steamy cars, embarrass them, and send them home shaking. One night, he rapped on a fogged window, found his daughter half naked in an old cutlass. Then he worked on his back step like a janitor covering his tracks, mopping his way out the door. I imagine it felt like hard labor to drive home, face his daughter, fix what seemed shattered. Maybe with effort, love takes on new forms. My old man used to tell me, when you have a task in front of you that seems too difficult, break it down. I'm going to try to lift this a bit. I don't know if this is possible. I think so. My father was a Greek American. He was a painting contractor. He had very little formal education, but he taught me many lessons, like in that poem, that through the process of things that he didn't know. So that's what this one is about. Process analysis. My father, so long in heaven, showed me how to sing out loud, laugh without regret, and how to fold drop cloths at the end of a job. First, take one end in your hands, stretching the canvas material taut between you. Second, make an initial fold down the middle, touching the 2 corners together. Resist the temptation to walk toward your father, he who gave you breath, as he repeats his usual, Mia fora akoma pedimu. One more time, my child. Fold again and let it drop to the ground. Close the gap between you for now by rolling it up. Finally, forget all the times this didn't go smoothly, the nights he came slurring home. Hold tight to the rituals of your life. One day, small corners all you'll have. Remember his voice in case he disappears from your dreams. Mia fora akoma pedimu. I'm having trouble seeing, that's why I'm sorry. Just a little higher. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I think I'm going to get Mom in there somewhat. My mother was Greek born. She knew very little English, but she always seemed to get her message across through tone, if you know what I mean. So this is a poem that I wrote one day when I was watching a documentary on water drying up in Mars, and it happened to be Mother's Day. So that's how my brain kind of works and put those two together. It's called Water on Mars. I remember when we used to talk mornings before I lifted off to school. Imprints of your words on my mind, now dried up like water on Mars. Your voice, a confident, foreign, robotic barking like the men in a ground control station as they direct the astronauts. Mine, a staticky code, searching to find a common frequency with you. I didn't know what language to use. You always sounded so right. And when men landed on the moon, I wished it was me, bouncing light and free, an unfathomable distance between us and our home. These days, only your faint tracks. I barely hear the sound of water flowing, or you questioning why I'd want to travel anywhere that far in the first place. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go into my the newest book that I put out during the pandemic. And let me say, don't ever put out a book during the pandemic. That was about the dumbest thing I've ever done. But I had to do it. I had to do it. And this book, many of the poems are sort of inspired by old movies, because obviously that's what I did, was spend a lot of time watching old movies. And this one is, it's a direct address to the moon, with many phrases from the movie Moonstruck and some lines from Nicolas Cage in there too, if you're familiar with it. The moon brings the woman to the man. I used to look up with round eyes as if you were perfect in every phase, watching over my life, young and old, promising always to mark my words. You brought earthy women to this bed, sweet verse to the tip of my tongue, light to heart, stories into folds. On snowy nights I fought off solitude, a degree of darkness only faith survives, under chilled covers without common prayer. You'll never be trustworthy again, in theory or full operatic dream. Bella Luna, Principessa, we need to accept your message. Snowflakes are perfect, stars are perfect, not us. And that's Nicolas Cage when he's trying to convince Cher to come to my bed. This is a poem that Phil Levine put in Chronogram, and I'm going to dedicate this to my daughter, who should be out there in Livestream land, I think, and it's inspired by Neruda. I love you in this way. I do. I love you in a way I don't find words often enough. I don't love you the way books say, forever repeating, before sonnets dared not rhyme, when fate was poetic and intimate. Still, I don't love you anywhere but here at home, held by night, inside a line's refusal to merge, dissipating dreams before dawn, leaving only anxious air, stars and wishes no longer wishable, fleeting and gone before the bluish moon surrenders. I don't love in daylight, on a bench, in a breeze, smokeless and alone, as cold marble foreshadows what little time we may have. In left-handed ways I love you, don't know what it feels like to always be right. I only ask you stop. Understand just what it means for us to love this way. And this is the last poem in the book, and it is certainly a pandemic poem. And it's many of you know the Eliot poem where he measures his life in coffee spoons, and that was the idea of this one. I guess I had the idea during the pandemic how much easier it would have been if I could smoke. Then I could measure every single day by how many cigarettes I had. But anyway, I digress. Coffee spoons, contemplating T.S. Eliot during a pandemic. It would be much easier if I could measure time in coffee or cigarettes. I'd go outside every hour, light up, contemplate the minutes, sift through the grounds to figure how much sunlight is left to endure before night crawls in and darkness moves so slow. Coffee won't help. Smokes will surely kill me. Right here on virtual Earth, life has changed, lacking in social graces, and it's recommended we all learn protection, cover our skin from lips to toes. Coffee, tobacco, or kiss, I'll cut a merciful hole in my mask. Thank you. Thanks. Excuse me. I think I'm going to end with some brand new poems. See how they sound. This is certainly another pandemic poem. And I don't know if you know the poet Rachel Hadas, but she recently put out a book of poetry called The Pandemic Poems. And I heard her read recently. In one of her poems, it says, "When the time comes, will we want to take off our masks?" The unveiling. I'm not ready to remove mine. I like that you have to work hard to understand my tone, read my eyes, wonder if we should hug, question if our hands should touch, continue along the path of not quite knowing which side of the wall we stand or whether we will ever join forces. When the veil lifts and we're all the same, I won't be able to discern how strong you were during the immoral reign of a maskless face peering out of Pandora's box. It makes me believe maybe I don't need anyone to make me mindful and mouthless. These days, I still dream you wearing a disguise, dark eyes squinting, air kissing my cheeks. One little political reference in there, so I couldn't help myself. But a very short poem based on a line by Robley Wilson. Island Walk. I wish on the island of your heart, you allow me to walk the perimeter, be the lee shore, the shelter your eyes strain to find through fog. A test of its boundaries across a 1-mile radius, our journey might still feel infinite. I'll meet your vessel, delicately gather what treasures I can carry to you, bring them to the untouched edge of the sea. I think 2 more will do it, if that's okay, Mike. I always tell my students, or I did tell my students, that you can write a sonnet about anyone or anything, and it doesn't matter. And so I wrote a sonnet to my dog, Fredo, and there's some frost in it too, so it was kind of fun. Good leashes. Something there is that doesn't love a leash. Perhaps a test to show you don't need me. I work hard to restrain this yelping beast who'd rather find a good length to feel free. On the one hand, we struggle to stay close. The other, we need to find our own way. You sniff at me with your Cyrano nose while I pull and guide you every day. What is the true answer to this riddle? I say elves, you say what? We divide our life right down the middle. God says do what you want to, but you tug hard. Don't do me any favors. I let loose. Good leashes make good neighbors. I don't know if he was watching, but he did inspire that. And probably, and this last one is probably the newest poem that I have read lately. Since I've been retired, I've had a lot of time to sit out on my little porch and read every morning and watch the parade of people go by. And there's one woman that walks her dog and her cat at once. It's so strange. She walks her dog and the cat follows along. So it's so bizarre to watch. And that sort of inspired this one. And again, thank you for having me, Mike. Grammar lesson. I left behind my life as a teacher, can barely teach myself anymore. But watching you walk your dog and cat in tandem at 6 a.m. in your pajama shorts is an advanced lesson in foreign verse. One of inspiration, spontaneity, form, and inflection. I imagine you reading Shelley. Wonder how you might read the line, soul meets soul on lover's lips. When you pass by me close, cut through the vulnerable morning, you share the click of your Russian tongue as you recite loudly on speakerphone. It's as if I'm sitting in the back of a classroom and you are roaming between the rows, the teacher I can't take my eyes off. Your laughter is your lesson, a gift not many offer up lately. Metered slap of your sandals match my old heart. It's your attempt to teach me simple grammar. But baby, I ain't nothing like Shelley. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're live. We're finally live. There's people in the room. Applaud, would you? Come on. Jesus Christ. What do I got to do? Beg you people? Jesus Christ. All right, before I bring up our last featured reader, I want to mention a few things CAPS-oriented. Our first Friday in August, that'll be August 5th, our featured readers will be Catherine Ara, Michael Heddich, and from Albany, Dan Wilcox. On August 11th, our second Thursday right here. I won't be here. I'll be in Madrid, but Jim Eve will be hosting Joanne Pagano, Bruce Weber, and Victoria Sullivan. And also on August 18th, our Zoom feature will be from Australia, Maggie Hall. September 2nd will be First Friday. That's our Zooms, Irene O'Garden, Dr. Lucia Chursu, and James Ritter. September 8th, right here, will be Teresa Costa, Richard Comerford, and to be announced, whoever that might be. And on September 15th will be Megan Alpert on our Zoom. And also, over the last 2 or 3 years, CAPS has gone into the publishing business. Why, I don't know, because we're only going to go bankrupt anyway. But, well, what the hell? And we've got 2 books out from 2 wonderful poets here in the Hudson Valley. Fred Poole's first full collection of poetry, Skyrocket Dive. And we've also got from Larry Carr, Paradise Loft. So please pick them up if you can. And now it's time for our third featured reader. Roberta Gould's work has appeared widely in poetry journals and anthologies, including Confrontation, Mid-American Review, Green Mountain, The Art and Craft of Poetry, A Slant of Light. Her 13 books include Woven Lightning and Talk When You Can Tell the Truth, Not by Blood Alone, Dream Yourself Flying, and In Houses with Ladders. In Mexico, she organized an educational campaign for international tourists and their dealings with service people. She has translated poetry for Sor Juana, Jorge Luis Borges, Parthadro Garfias, and major poets writing in Spanish. She lives here, of course, in the Hudson Valley, www.robertagould.net. Always a pleasure, always a pleasure. Roberta Gould, come on.
Oh, hi, hello. Yeah. I don't know, I can't see it. Am I underneath? Am I underneath with the microphone? Yeah. Yeah, because one was underneath. And then he's good, you know, visually. Not that that's important. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, thank you. It was really a pleasure to listen to these heartfelt poems of yours. I really liked it a lot. And thank you, David and Mike. I'll read a couple of poems from last year. The Boat Unmoored. I was boarding the boat the moment it unmoored, and I stepped into air, then water. Fear mounted like a geyser in my gut. But I spread my arms like wings, pushed my feet back like a duck. Yet I could not walk on water, and sank and saw the vessel blur, its underside vanish in the distance. Rise, rise, I told myself, my will, my strength, my life left. A foghorn sounded a muffled tremble. I heard it loud and clear, and rising broke the surface to air. Ants. The ants are racing to their hole, vanish inside as we do, molding donuts of sand above them as we lift mushrooms to the sky. A few cannot participate, scurry lost or mistake their address. Another hole back of the glacial erratic rock, shattered on the path. Oh, they are busy, have purpose, endless members of species, while turning about on the periphery, the others who've wandered too far, too close, or close enough to see they are wrong, turn round and race back, living memory, dream time, or transcending. Crossing the reservoir. I efface time with a honk of the horn to the man with the sign marked slow at the edge of the causeway. He is protecting men laying cable, same as yesterday, his rosy cheeks and wide smile, unusual for one out in the cold, given the privilege of standing and seeing. He is 50 feet away from yesterday. I recognize him through the car window. Smile as I pass and honk the horn. I think he knows me. I think he knows me. Driving off, I remember Miss Neely, an aide to Albrecht, the principal. She told us that smiling on the street might change someone's day and bring happiness. We were only 7 or 8, yet she returns a century later, where I follow her loving suggestion, her mission in wartime's harsh landscape, hatred bouncing about like a nearly deflated, frantic balloon. After the first of the year, I thought I wasn't going to write, so I wrote this Valedictus, last words, goodbye. I have nothing to say. Silence is golden. I won't argue with popular wisdom. The words I tap to the screen are a prelude to shutting my trap. Rest easy, seekers. Rest easy, seekers. You deserve it. However, the next day, on January 2nd, I wrote this. Like a bird walking slowly, he emerged from his truck, gently moved the opossum, opening and closing its mouth like a bird walking slowly. A line of cars patiently waited, but the animal resisted, despite the day's traffic. Was she gasping? In the back of the truck, a gentleman found a leaf rake, a painless way to move the wounded from the road back to the bushes. Was she hit, someone asked. So it seems, was the reply. As I left, I peered out to remember the spot and its tree trunk I would return to next day. On grandmother's lap. Mona Toscano said I should really write about this stuff. I don't usually write anything autobiographical or, maybe from my unconscious, but not from my conscious. On grandmother's lap. Bounced on her lap, facing the counter. Her rhythm was lively. I was lucky. She wasn't working, having fun with me. After she died, I learned her special face that afternoon was normal for grandmothers, not the sadness I often saw. Dignity of loss. I didn't know the letters had ceased after 30 years, her kin and neighbors, a world left behind. Photos were published after the war, skeletal corpses, those left with bodies, not ash, nor dismembered life, hacked on Vilna's streets. Their silence she could only guess, that happy afternoon on her lap, their names she never said. I, a child, not knowing the why of her usual sadness, enjoying our special hour that day, and after, her soup with celery and chickens. With celery and chicken, sorry. Special soup with celery and chicken. The next poem is called Speech Defects. Some people were not lucky enough to have a mother like my own who corrected my brother who couldn't say his L, and she would say, lipstick, leaving, and the boy learned how to speak. But we sometimes get these people doing speech defects on television, so it irks me. Speech defects, and I sort of put the various ones in. Clacking their traps or their choppers. Smacking their lips, insisting on lisps. Lollying, weren't their teachers? And the static of gurgling in the sides of their mouth. If only they ceased to speak and wordlessly hum, vibrate their rib cage and sternum, I'd be saved. Free in the silence, I'd listen. We had a neighbor who would talk like this, and my mother could imitate it very well, you know what I mean, etc. Okay, we're not talking about stuttering, though. Okay, this is called Betsy. My Betsy's. Bessie Toole was no Twig, Twigg, though Twig was also called Betsy. Toole was married to another man who knew science and taught seniors. Betsy Twig had married a harper and divorced. Her daughter has moved to the Ozarks. Like when Daddy and Louie took me along to Philly, dating historical buildings, old cemeteries, and a bell. Until, when done, we went to the house which displayed the nation's first flag, the one made by the very first Betsy. Not Betsy Twig, who was my neighbor when I had grown up and finished school. Betsy with a double named Nella And Rain Man, the horse that had lost, and Rain Man, the horse that was lost, when forced one day to sell house. Nor Betsy Brown and her boyfriend, printing texts in Berkeley on a Mimeo, retelling Wright Mills' power elite, the gang, they said, owned the country. Nor the Betsy who hailed from Pike and crossed the wide prairie with her lover, the one who pawed the ground like a steer before a tabernacle was built there. Okay, I'm going to read a few poems from what I put together as a possible chapbook or something. I have a lot of work. I'm first going to read a poem called Tyrant. Thank you very much. We have numbers here that help a person be organized. Page 74 of this book that almost was. 74. The tyrant dreams. The tyrant is speaking. The tyrant dreams. I place little weights on the clock's hands. This fools the faithful, timelessly lost, working forever to nostalgic music. But when they awake, I am ready and move the moon. Gravity changes and the sun starts a new journey. The earth speeds up as I choose. The constellations turn at my will, illusions sent to my believers. As I sit on my throne, bask in golden destruction, the ancient prophecy fulfilled, history, me. This poem is called Propaganda. They call it a kaleidoscope, magic if you extrude an eye and let it whirl with the compass needle. The colors and tesserae sent down the tube you turn, your disembodied vision surprising you. Every day your birthday, you're so happy, you gladly hand your heart over, not knowing, missing nothing. Too late, you're even laughing. So from this sort of chapbook called The Physics of Falling, little things that happen, the physics of falling, you lose something, where is it? The physics of falling, where did it land? Let it be revealed. At the edge of the drawer, pulled out, and on the girth of its polished slab of facing. The blue cap you've searched for, hidden from your partial gaze, waiting to be screwed back to the bottle's neck and be won again when you awake. Find where it landed the night before when you couldn't see in the dark. Food and freedom. Anguish as I stand at the counter and putter along. It's over, I can't go on. Then I eat and I see new light, no longer linger and slumber, and I prepare to leap from branch to branch with the ease I left behind, forgetting I've evolved and I'm stuck to the ground. So I'm forced to fashion the day as morning dictates. That's my freedom. The easy life. By the time I reach the desk, the search begins for the pencils and paper in my pocket. They are not there, but I learn to disregard memory and agendas. I'm quick and arrive, land on another shore, emerge from the dream, freely taken, like a needle swung, like a needle swung toward magnetic north, or mercury rising in a glass. Don't blame me if life is too easy. Thank you. El Dia de los Muertos, USA. Grow up to death already. It happens, you know. You'll never know exactly when, so it will be a surprise, and you'll be in the best of company. You who had a family, and if you didn't, you'll be rid of the lack. So don't fret. Get up and go out. See what's going on around you. The ones you didn't see, those who are afraid of you, who are not deemed human. Rocking chair, quoting Farmer's Almanac. Worry is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do and doesn't get you anywhere. Worry gets us nowhere, but rocking takes us back to safety in the womb or on a summer boat where mild swells bring dreams, and flying with a thrill, we rise on summer swings, pushed by loving hands, our own that do everything. Clothespin. A clothespin. Do you all know what a clothespin is? You know, you'd hang the clothes up and you'd put the clothespin on the line before dryers. Okay, clothespin. A clothespin found in an old pile, metal clamped to wood, its body standing on two legs, squeezed to open, fasten shirts and shorts to a clothesline, hinder the odor of dampness. I placed it on a shelf, won't discard it. Call up the spirit of the one who invented it, this finger-managed tool that left the mind free to wander where it would, its creator long gone, along with the mothers who used it before washers and dryers existed, doing laundry the old way with time in the sun and the dazzling fragrance of clean. Excuse me. Buy one, get one free from a dream catalog. A plastic owl glows in your garden, keeps unwanted rodents out. So you are relieved of shooting young rabbits, nibbling the lettuce you'd rather not eat. You simply are following the rule and maintain dominion over all. Raise a fine crop for your kind. Assure wild neighbors keep out. Why not? But why not then? Couldn't it rise to the top for the asking? It's not dead weight after all. You carry the intangible, and that's a floating world. Throw it crumbs, drop your lure and move it slowly across the water. Nothing rises. The changing surface clears, is the same impenetrable stillness. It mirrors you. Isn't that enough? Last one, the traces. Descriptive poem. The braided rain imprinted on sloping ground between goldenrod pine and everything else, spread and meandered, leaving little pools in the path's hollows where life flourishes, the traces of its journey telling what fell from several clouds, one alone, or wind whipped wide in its fall, is impressed in beautiful confusion near the asters and wintergreen, where future seeds sit, awaiting new rain. Thank you. I have a couple more. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I just was switching to this. This one is called "Improving Nature," and it was published in Mightier, one of the anthologies. Nature has a way of insisting you can't fool her. You open the sky for a quarter, but find the water is gone. You dig to hell for proof, but nothing is there. Where can you go? Your new mode of movement does nothing, though you walk on your nose to the stage and a bundle of money is awarded. Though you primp in the mirror for hours, next morning you're nowhere again. So you read how to eat and read how to breathe, ignoring the rain and the children, skating paved rivers and gardens of chrome, guffawing with guts made of plaster. And I think this is the last poem. It's called, this poem is a poem that I found the other day, and I said, what is this? It was in Spanish. And I said, oh, I like it, but what is it? But I did. I was afraid to say it was mine because I don't want to publish someone else's as mine, but it was in my word processor. And then I saw a few phrases. It reminded me of myself. So there it was. I fixed it up a little. And just a little, and then I translated it to English. It was written in Spanish. I probably had been in Mexico then. And yes. It was into Spanish, so anyhow, it's called Transform. Light transforms you, become a, oh, I must say this. When I was young, if I would be standing somewhere, my aunt would say to me, is your father a glazier? Did you ever hear that expression? Oh yeah, like you're blocking my view, and a glazier was someone who made glass, or the men with glass trucks, glass on trucks. Transform. Light transforms you, become a glazier. Walls open and light enters. Huge sheets of glass are cut to order, will give each house a view of the world and its trees. What matter you once destroyed a window, lost paper, pen, ink, and that your neighbor falsifies history? Night transforms, you become a glazier, the sun lives, light arrives. Thank you. Thank you.
I swear, if there was anybody that I never thought would be reading off a personal device, it would be Roberta Gould, but there she was, reading off that personal device. How about another hand for Roberta, Perry, and Irene? I want to thank Dale Wise here in the audience for reminding me that Fred Poole is doing a reading at the pavilion at the Baptist House Assisted Living in Rhinebeck, New York on Sunday at 2 o'clock. It's going to be the book launch, and Fred's going to be reading, and we're all going to be there, and please come out. So I want to thank you all again for coming. We're going to now start the open mic, but this is going to get cut off from here. So we will see you again in August. Thank you, everybody.